ain't so. Not by the hair of my chinny chins. I'm gonna huff and I'm gonna puff and I'm gonna trade Bryce Huff away. Howie Roseman has done it once again, ladies and gentlemen. Pull the rabbit out of his hat. Bryce Huff, Snuffleupagus, Snugglepuff, whatever you want to call him. He is officially not a Philadelphia Eagle anymore. He is a San Francisco 49er. Earlier today, or rather yesterday, this is late in the evening, the Philadelphia Eagles traded Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers for a mid-round pick for a post-June 1 designation. This is a day that Eagle fans have been waiting for quite some time. We were initially excited when we signed him. 3 years, $51 million for a 26, 27-year-old pass rusher who came off a year where he had 10 sacks, and he only played 40% of the time. Now, I was skeptical when we first got Bryce Huff and paid him that much money to be, an unproven commodity, but how he took a swing didn't necessarily work out, but it resulted in a Super Bowl title that year anyway. And once again, Howie Roseman just shows why he's the best general manager in football. And I mean, he might be the best general manager I think I've seen in football in quite some time. Now, again, my football fandom started in 2007. That's when I first started watching football. So again, there probably have been great general managers that I have not seen do work. Like John Elway did great work. John Lynch has done great work. Les Snead's done really great work. Ozzie Newsome, probably maybe the only guy that I would consider better than Howie Roseman at the moment, right? He did great work before he retired. There's been a lot of spectacular general managers in football. However, Howie Roseman, once again, has taken the cake in being able to take this contract, being able to trade this player and convince another team to take on the contract, albeit restructured. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But he convinced the team to take on this contract. The player worked with the Eagles. Bryce Huff, to his credit, worked with the Eagles to find a way to restructure his deal to make the contract more palatable for another team to go ahead and take on this player. Wasn't a scheme fit, wasn't a fit in Philadelphia for whatever reason. Vic Fangio didn't want to use him, all that stuff. It was a mutual parting of the ways between player and team. This move by Howie Roseman once again just shows why he's the best general manager in all of football. He's taking a Super Bowl winning team and making moves, keeping them manageable underneath the cap. Once again, manipulating money to work in favor for the Eagles in order to potentially add players down the line and keep them afloating to make a big splash move potentially, or to re-sign players that they're going to have to pay in the next few years. It's chess, not checkers, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, Howie Roseman is the best piece on the board. He's done it once again. Taking chicken's shit, turning it into chicken soup. That's the mantra. That seems to be what Philadelphia has been doing for the past few years. I'm blown away by how well he structured this trade. I'm blown away by the accounting genius that was shown in this move. Not many teams are able to pull this off. And it's a credit to the front office in Philadelphia because they're willing to dish out money. They're willing to take on and pay the lump sum of money up front in order to facilitate these types of moves. And like I said, we're going to get into that and what this trade potentially means for the Philadelphia Eagles in just a moment. But before you do, if you like what you heard, please do me a favor. Like this video at The Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm Asif Badi. I am an Eagles fan who is elated just like you on the opposite side of the camera. And if you want to support the channel and you want to support and grow this baby organically, please do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and be part of the discussion by commenting your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to subscribe, and it'll help us grow organically here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. And we thank you on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the radio, wherever you're listening to us on. Okay, contract details of what this trade means, okay? Bryce Huff was set to make $15.58 million of fully guaranteed money this upcoming year as a bonus, okay? The Philadelphia Eagles converted that contract in negotiation with Bryce Huff into a base salary, okay? So they converted a fully guaranteed bonus, money up front, into a base salary and agreed to take $9.05 million and make that your bonus. So they decided to pay Bryce Huff $9 million up front as opposed to 15.5. Okay. Then they made the trade with San Francisco, and San Francisco agreed to take on basically $8 million left of that deal. So essentially, Philadelphia traded Bryce Huff, taking on $9.9 million, letting San Francisco take on another $8 million to pay Bryce Huff. And in exchange, we get a mid-round draft pick. And the way they orchestrated this money, because they converted it into void years, and because they made it into a bonus up front, it doesn't go against the cap. So, again, I'm going to go over it one more time. They were going to have to pay Bryce Huff $15.5 million against the cap, fully guaranteed. They converted that into a base salary and agreed to pay a bonus of $9.05 million up front. San Francisco agrees to take on the rest of that contract on this upcoming year in exchange for a mid-round pick. This move ends up having the Eagles save $7.9 million in cash, because now you don't have to pay that bonus money up front because San Francisco is willing to pay it. And it ends up saving Philadelphia $15 million in cap space. Because like I said, the way Philadelphia has done this deal, the way they manipulate the salary cap, and again, it's a testament to Jeffrey Lurie in this front office and Howie Roseman, how they manipulate money. When you take contracts and you convert, guaranteed money into signing bonuses, it means you paying all this money to the player up front. Because you're paying this money up front to the player, it's not going to count against your cap, because that money's already paid off. So now the player's base salary is lower, and that money is counted against the cap. So that's basically how they are able to constantly create cap space while getting all of this talent. And with the use of void years that they have, found a loophole with, they give basically dummy years to these contracts to be able to pay out, these signing bonuses, these base salaries over the course of a few years. It basically doesn't affect them when they're paying contracts up front right now, which is why the Philadelphia Eagles were able to save $15 million in cap space for the 2025 year. That's through the use of void years. That's through the use of converting, these contracts into a base salary and giving bonus money up front. And thus, you have the reigning Super Bowl champions, who started off with $25 million in cap space, who have now ended the day with $40 million in cap space. All for a player who, didn't contribute much to your Super Bowl winning season, but you got out of a bad contract because of lack of scheme fit unscathed. What general manager in the National Football League can get away with that? There's no GM, no organization could give a contract like that to a player and find a way to be on the up end with that mistake. Mind you, the 3 years, $51 million they initially gave Bryce Huff is the same money that they're giving to Zach Bond. They signed him to a 3-year, $51 million deal. And remember how they manipulated the cap for that contract. They extended Saquon Barkley, creating enough room to use that money once again to sign Zach Bond. And basically, guys, understand what has just happened here. I know I'm kind of going all over the place, and I'll give you a little bit of an article review from ESPN. So they trade Bryce Huff. Like I said, the Eagles will take on $9 million in salary. The Niners are going to handle basically $8 million of that deal. They send a middle round pick to the Eagles, and then the Eagles basically end up getting extra money on the back end. That's basically what happened here. When you couple that with being able to extend Saquon Barkley and Zach Bond and virtually lose no ground in cap room, you basically got Saquon Barkley extended, Zach Bond extended, traded Bryce Huff in that bad contract for a mid-round pick plus $15 million. That's the summation of what those moves have been. Now, albeit you did lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and you lost Darius Slay and you lost Milton and Josh Sweat, 100% true. But we already knew going into this offseason, outside of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, those guys were probably going to be out anyway. Really, the biggest losers in this deal are the New York Jets. 100%. We basically took Bryce Huff for Hassan Reddick. And as bad as Bryce Huff was, at least for this past calendar year, he actually had more production than Hassan Reddick, right? So we exchanged Bryce Huff for Hassan Reddick. They basically let Mekhi Becton walk. We took him on for less than $2 million, got a Super Bowl ring out of it, plus a draft pick. And then we traded Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers for a pick. And then Mekhi Becton ended up going to the Chargers, getting a big deal. And I am not aware if we got a compensatory pick. I'm sure we did for Mekhi Becton. Plus you get $15 million in cap space. You're the reigning Super Bowl champions, and you have $40 million in cap space to use for the 2025 season. That's masterful work. That's uncanny. That's excellence. That is greatness you're witnessing. And again, I know the numbers, you look at it and you're like, this is a pretty nerdy thing to look at. You're looking at numbers and you're looking at what a shifty SOB Howie Roseman is for doing that. I get it. This is uncanny stuff this front office is doing with manipulating the cap, which is why the owners meeting, they're talking about potentially restructuring the cap space so that people don't use void years. They somehow find a way to control the cap a little bit better so that teams like Philadelphia doesn't manipulate it the way that it does. Again, it's a small sample size. But over the past 3 or 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, Philadelphia and this front office has shown they're the best operation in all of football. They've drafted well. They know how to sign contracts. Player evaluation is as good as anybody in the NFL. And when they have a bad deal, when they have a mistake that's made, they are able to get out of it and get better from it. We did it with Carson Wentz. We did it with Bryce Huff now. We're doing it with all of these players and all of these situations. Getting more cap space, getting more draft capital, making moves to get, more assets down the road because Jeffrey Lurie has given Howie Roseman a longer leash and longer shelf life than what other owners would normally give to their general manager. Think about what the Jets have gone through. You had Joe Douglas, who was part of the Eagles and now is back with Philadelphia. Woody Johnson was not going to give him the shelf life that he probably deserved to build the rest of that team out, which is why they were willy-nilly with their draft pick, which is why they were so quick and eager to get a player like Hassan Reddick because they needed pass rushing. Which is why they make all these poor decisions because a GM's got to fight for his job. So they're going to push their chips all in. And it's why over the past few years, the Jets have been moribund. Think about all the other bad franchises in the National Football League that have bad ownership that force their GMs to make moves they don't want to. Look at the Jaguars. They're another team that has an owner that is not very good at constructing a roster, and they have bad GMing. Yeah, you get a lot of talented players because you're always in the top 5, top 7 of every freaking draft. The Browns, same thing. Look at what the Cowboys have done. Yeah, they draft very well, but you know what they don't have? They don't have the ability to manipulate the cap the way that Philadelphia Eagles do. Now, I get it. They have cap space, and they've done a lot of stuff to do that, but they're going to have to pay Micah Parsons $40 million. I can guarantee you, Philadelphia is going to pay Jalen Carter $40 million, and it will not be as direct of a hit on the cap as it would be for the Dallas Cowboys. There will be no instance where a $40 million cap hit is going to be shown on that Jalen Carter contract like it will be for the Micah Parsons contract. Can guarantee it. And that's because Howie Roseman's in the building. This Bryce Huff move, this trade, you got rid of a bad contract. You got rid of a player that didn't want to be here, that wasn't a fit. And you got $15 million and a mid-round pick for it. All while taking a chance on the upside of a young 25, 26-year-old pass rusher who came off a career year with the New York Jets. And basically, here again, to sum it all up, basically the New York Jets have lost it all. San Francisco got Robert Saleh and Bryce Huff, who Robert Saleh was able to unlock as a player for $8 million and a mid-round pick. The Philadelphia Eagles got rid of Bryce Huff, got $15 million back, a mid-round pick, Joe Douglas, and a draft pick for the Hassan Reddick trade, and a Super Bowl title because of Mekhi Becton coming to the Eagles. And then the New York Jets are shit out of luck. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. It's uncanny. He's the best GM in all of football. He's the best GM that I have seen in my lifetime right now. And again, I know I'm biased because this is an Eagles channel and I'm looking at what Howie Roseman's doing for the Philadelphia Eagles. But if this were another football team, if I saw him do this type of work for another football team, I'd be the first to tell you this is the best GMing I've seen. This is the best GMing in football. And he's continuing to, just when you think there's no more moves to make, he's making another one. They knew they were going to do this probably when they won the Super Bowl. Unbelievable. And now that you have $40 million in cap space, Next question is now, what could you possibly get with that cap space now? What can you possibly do next to build on this roster? But that's going to be another episode for another time. For right now, we all celebrate this trade because it was a win-win for both parties here. We got rid of a player that didn't want to be here, that wasn't a good fit in Bryce Huff. And the Philadelphia Eagles got money back and a draft pick for a player that wasn't going to see the field. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Hey. Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.